welcome to Panorama Learning free webinar with the topic of the definite and indefinite articles in the German language. My name is Christine Aul, and as you can hear on my accent, I am a German native. Therefore, I'm really looking forward to help you to learn my mother tongue, German. Before we start learning together in this free webinar, I would like to ask you that you mute your mobile phone, that you really can focus on the next 30 to 40 minutes for this webinar. And furthermore, I would like to ask you to grab a piece of paper and the colors green, blue and red, and then we can start. Okay, let's start with the definite articles in language. As you can see, I have made an overview for you, different languages with their definite article to compare the language, and so you can understand why we use the definite articles in the way we use it in German. Let's start with English. Very easy, you have one definite article, the. So all the nouns you will find, you add the definite article the. In German, unfortunately, it's not that easy. We have 3 of the definite articles, which are der, die and das. Der, die and das. And this is not that uncommon when you have a look on other languages. Spanish has 2 definite articles, el and la. French has 2 definite articles, le and la. And Italian also have 2 different definite articles, il and la. Why is that so? The system behind having more definite articles is, and it's the same in German or in Spanish, whatever, you have different groups for the nouns. And this has something to do with gender. Is the noun more masculine, more feminine, or is it neutral? And this is what it is about. Let's have a look. The 3 colors will help you in the future to understand and to keep it better in mind when it comes to nouns, to new vocabulary for you. It makes sense to use the 3 colors. This is why I ask you to have the 3 colors ready. Work with them, it will really help you. It works great with my other students so far, so use just the 3 colors. Let's start with der. Der is blue. Blue belongs to all the masculine nouns you can find in the language. Why is blue the color for the masculine things, for the masculine nouns you will find? Think about when a baby boy is born, everything needs to be in blue, right? Blue colors, maybe you paint the wall for the boy in the room blue. When you get some presents, the balloons are blue. Everything has to be blue because it's a boy. Boy belongs to blue. Masculine, the color for blue. And therefore the article who belongs to masculine nouns in the German language will be blue. When you have something masculine, you need quite the opposite, some feminine stuff. And this is where die belongs to. The definite article die in the German language belongs to all feminine nouns you will find in the German language. The color for die, feminine, is red. And why is that? Let's have a look. Lipsticks from women are almost always a quite red color. And therefore, think about the red lipstick. Red, the color for feminine nouns. Red is the color for die. And the third category we have in German is for, let's say, if it's not quite masculine, it is not feminine, then we have a group between. And this we call the neutral, the neutrum zone. Das is the third definite article which you can find in the German language for all the nouns who are not masculine and not feminine. The color for das is green. Why is that? Think about the green grass. Das Gras is in German the right definite article for it. the grass is green, and therefore das grüne Gras, the green grass. Green, the color for nouns who belongs to the definite article das, and das belongs to all the nouns which are not definite die and which are not definitely der, masculine or feminine. This is the same system the other language uses, but they have just masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine, masculine, feminine. And in German you have the category number 3 with das, for everything which is not masculine and not feminine in the nouns, the middle zone das. This is the reason why we have 3 articles instead of other language just 2, or in English they don't care about genders at all, they just say the, but in German we have it categorized and therefore 3 different definite articles. This is the first step to get them separated, why to use what, think about the genders, and in the next step we will have a closer look with some more rules which will help you to understand when to use der, when to use die, and when to use das. Okay, let's have a closer look what we have already talked about at the whiteboard, now here in this PowerPoint presentation to get you a perfect overview about everything. We said we would like to compare different languages and their definite article. As you have it in English, it's the. In German, it's 3 of them, der, die, das. And in French, you have un and une. Let's have a closer look with the definite articles to compare in English and in German. The in English has 3 definite articles in the German language. They are der, die, and das. And here you already can see our special color code. And how is that? Let's have a closer look. Der, die, das. Let's start with der. We said that der belongs to all the masculine nouns you can find in the German language. Der, nominative case, all the masculine nouns. The color is blue, like when a baby boy is born, everything needs to be in blue. So blue is the color for all the masculine nouns in the nominative case in the German language. Examples here could be der Mann, the man, der Baum, the tree, der Polizist, the male police officer, and as you can see by the examples, very clear, more male nouns. A man, definitive, a tree, der Baum is also more masculine, and a male police officer is der Polizist. Second definite article is die. Die is red for the red lipstick, and we said die belongs to all the feminine nouns in the nominative case you can find in the German language. The red lipsticks very often used by the females, therefore red is the color for the feminine nouns you can find in the German language. Examples for here could be die Frau, the woman, die Blume, the flower, die Polizistin, the female police officer. And here I would like to give you right away a heads up when it comes to professions. Whenever you have an IN on the end of a profession, then it shows that here we are talking about a female in this profession. For example, der Polizist, die Polizistin, der Lehrer, teacher, a male teacher, die Lehrerin with an IN on the end means a female teacher. Der Ingenieur, die Ingenieurin. Actor and actress, die Schauspielerin, actress, der Schauspieler. Yeah, whenever you have this IN on the end, it shows you that here we are talking about the female person in the profession. The last of our definite article is das. And das, we said it's not male, masculine, it's not female, it is neutral, neutrum. And therefore green is the color, like the grass, das Gras, which we have in our first example, or also das Haus, the house, or das Kind, the child. And here, important, of course, kids have a gender, it's a boy or a girl, but when you just talk about the child, yeah, for example, you go to a playground and there is a little one sitting next to a slide and you cannot figure out is it male or female because it's sitting to your side with a bag and it's just the child, das Kind, this is why it comes from. Of course, then we have girl and boy, but when it's just about a little human, then we say das Kind. Let's continue with a little fun fact. I like fun fact. What do you think? Which of the three definite articles is used most often? Der, die, or das? What do you think? Just guess. Here it is. 45%, and therefore most of the time we use the definite article die. And on the second place, very close, goes der. And the most often definite articles in the German language is das. Maybe this helps you also a little bit when it comes to figure out what to use, der, die, or das. Let's talk about some more rules which will help you about the definite article, when to use which article. Der, the masculine definite article in the nominative case, are for months or seasons. For example, der Januar, der April, der Sommer, der Winter, and so on. Also the directions of a compass. Norden, Osten, Süden, Westen. North, East, West, South. All with der. And the most of the weather conditions. Der Regen, the rain. Der Schnee, the snow. Der Nebel, the fog. Die, almost all the nouns who ends with an I. Die Decke, die Lampe, die Schnecke, die Katze, die Blume. So you can say round about 80% of the nouns you can find in the German language who ends with an I are feminine and has the definite article die. Again, not all of them, but a lot of them, round about 80%. Flowers like die Rose, the rose, die Tulpe, tulps, and so on. Sunflower, die Sonnenblume goes with the definite article die. And most of the German rivers like die Donau, die Fulda, die Spree, die Elbe, die Isar, die Mosel, and so on. Not all of them, but most of them. Das has most of the Mittels. Das Gold, das Silber, das Eisen, das Blech. Then we talk about diminutive nouns. Endings like le or line, who makes nouns smaller, nicer, cuter. The bag, die Tasche, das Täschlein, a small bag. Das Haus, the house. Das Häuschen, a very cutie small house. Häuschen. We talked enough about the rules. Now let's get to practice. Let's do some exercises about nouns and the definite article der, die or das. Which article you have to use for the given nouns you can see here. Now you can put the pause button if you need some more time, because I will shoot you the right answers right away. Are you ready? Der Mann, die Blume, die Schlange, das Haus, das Kind, die Lampe, die Vase, der Montag, der Februar, das Bild und die Aufgabe. And some other nouns for you. Make sure if you need more time, hit the pause button, because now here comes the answers. Die Katze, der Hase, die Maus, der Hamster, das Pferd, der Löwe, der Tiger, das Meerschweinchen, der Fisch, der Frosch und der Hai. And here you can already see that the rule with the nouns who ends with an ERD not always and ever fits. Sometimes there are some exceptions, and here you have them. For example, der Hase, it's not die Hase. And also with Löwe, lion, der Löwe. And the reason here for is because we have a female form for rabbit, Hase. This is die Häsin. So here we talk about the male rabbit. And the same goes for Löwe, lion. Löwe is a male lion, and the female form of the lion is die Löwin, and therefore these are the male parts of it. Okay, so far we have just talked about the singular nouns. Yeah, when you have one rabbit, when you have one house, when you have one bag, whatever, only one. Singular nouns. What happens when we have more than one, when we have plural form of the nouns? Good news for you, all the plural nouns has article D. And you can see I gave it another color, purple, lila, to make sure that you can make a difference between the red D as singular female nouns and the purple D, which we used for plural. Let's have a look what that means. Das Buch turns to die Bücher. One book and more books. Das Haus turns to die Häuser. Der Mensch, die Menschen. Der Hund, die Hunde. Die Lampe, die Lampen. So as you can see, the nouns who has a singular das or der in the nominative case turn all together in the plural to die. And if you have already a die in the singular version of the noun, then just the article stays with die, and you can see that it changed on the noun. Yeah, it's not Lampe, it's Lampen. Plural has a lot of other rules. Let's don't talk about it right now. For me, it is important now for you that you figure it out. This is singular, and here all the plurals. Whenever you have noun in plural forms, you use the definite article die. Let's give an example. Der Hund, die Hunde. Der Hai, die Haie. Die Schnecke, Die Schnecken. Welcome to the second part of the webinar about the articles in the German language. So far we have talked about the definite articles in the German language, der, die and das, the in English. And now let's have a look about the indefinite articles in the German language. As you can see, from the beginning of the webinar, we compared the articles with different languages, and I would like to do the same for the indefinite article. Therefore, we have the overview on the whiteboard again. The indefinite article in the English language is a man, a house, a tree, a horse, a flower. And in German we have two of them, ein and eine. Ein and eine. And yes, you see right, it's not three anymore, like with the definite articles, it's only two articles left, ein and eine. And two indefinite articles are not unusual for languages. Let's have a look with Spanish, for example. They use un and una. French use un and une. And Italian has un and uno as indefinite articles. Let's dig a little bit deeper. When to use ein and when to use eine in the German language. And here is a good news for you. When you have the rules in mind about the definite articles, when to use der, masculine nouns, when to use die, feminine nouns, and when to use das as neutrum, then you can literally copy and paste this knowledge for the indefinite articles. Let's have a look to that. Ein as an indefinite articles share the definite articles der and das. That means whenever you use in the nominative case for nouns der or das, then you use in the indefinite article cases ein. Let's give an example for that. The man, der Mann, a man, ein Mann. The house, das Haus, a house, ein Haus. You see the connection between the definite and the indefinite article? Here, the indefinite article ein compares to der and das as definite articles. Now we talked about der and das. What about die? And here it goes. Die, the feminine nouns, has an own indefinite article. It's eine. All the nouns who goes with the rule as a feminine noun, who uses die as definite article, has as undefinite article eine in the nominative case. This is important also for der and das and ein. We talk about nominative case. We also have the accusative and the dative, but this is really complex grammar. Let's stay with the nominative right now in this webinar. And here for the feminine nouns in the definite article die use, they have the indefinite article eine. As an idea how you can keep it in mind is that the women, they don't like to share stuff, right? We would like to have our own things. It's just a joke, but it will help you maybe. So, feminine nouns, die has her own indefinite article eine. We don't share things like masculine and neutrum nouns. We have our own indefinite article eine. Another idea how you can keep it in your mind is think about the E rule. We already talked about it. The nouns who ends with an E are almost all of them feminine, has D as definite article, and therefore eine as indefinite article. Eine has also an E on the end, like the noun you may have, and eine, die, has also an E on the end. So here's a lot going on with E's on the ends. Maybe this will help you. The overview, ein and eine, indefinite articles in the German language. Ein belongs to the definite article der and das. Eine has his own definite article die. Let's do some exercise about this topic. Okay, another quick overview for you what we already talked about at the whiteboard, the difference between the definite article and the indefinite article in the German language. We said definite article in the German language are der, das and die. And the indefinite article, which is the in the English language, is in German ein and eine. Let's have a closer look to that. Der and das, these two definite articles in the German language, shares the indefinite article ein. An example for that could be the tree, der Baum, a tree, ein Baum. Das Paar, the couple, ein Paar, a couple. That is the reason why ein is written in two different colors, blue and green, because ein, the indefinite article in the German language, ein, shares this form of the articles with the definite article der and das. What happened when you have definite article die and you would like to use the indefinite article? Die has his very own indefinite article eine. Whatever of the rules of the helping system comes in your mind, we talked about it at the whiteboard. Just figure something out for you that it is stuck in your head. Die, the feminine definite article, has his own indefinite article and it is eine. Example for that is the flower, die Blume, a flower, eine Blume. Or die Schlange, the snake, eine Schlange, a snake. The difference by the indefinite article ein and eine is that ein has the definite article der and das, and eine is for his very own definite article die. Also for here, some exercise for you. Please use the pause button if you need some more time, because now I will shoot you the right answers for this exercise. Ein Mann, eine Blume, eine Schlange, ein Haus, ein Kind, eine Lampe, eine Vase, ein Montag, ein Februar, ein Bild, eine Aufgabe. Some more exercises. Again, please use the pause button if you need more time, because here comes the answers. Eine Katze, ein Hase, eine Maus, ein Hamster, ein Pferd, ein Löwe, ein Tiger, ein Meerschweinchen, ein Fisch, ein Frosch, ein Hase. Definite and indefinite article, die and eine, only singular nouns. No indefinite articles for the plural. What does that mean? The definite article plural has no indefinite article for itself. This sounds weird. Let's have a look for it. Der Hund, ein Hund, and now we have the plural of Hund, Hunde, die Hunde, but now for the ein there is no plural article form, it's just Hunde. Yeah, so der Hund, die Hunde as plural form, but for the indefinite article for plural there is no article, it's just Hunde. And the same goes for Schnecke. Die Schnecke and eine Schnecke. Die Schnecken, because plural, remember we said whenever you have a noun in the plural form, it is die, but there is no indefinite article for the plural nouns. It's just Schnecken. Der Hai, ein Hai. Die Haie, plural, more than just one shark. And then just Haie. Once more, because it is really so important. Der Hai, ein Hai. Die Haie, just Haie. What happened? Der Hai, definite article turns to the indefinite article, der turns to ein. In singular, possible. But let's have a look what happened, oops, here, what happened when it comes to die Haie, plural form. There is no indefinite article for the plural form. This is really, really important. Never ever you will find an indefinite article in the plural forms of the nouns. Never ever. And here you have an overview about all the grammatic things we have talked about so far. Definite and indefinite articles, masculine, neutrum, feminine, and plural. The definite articles are der, die, das, der for the masculine noun, singular, das for the neutrum noun, singular, die for the feminine noun, singular. And when you would like to say in the definite article use something in plural, Hunde, die Hunde. Der Hund turns to die Hunde because you have plural then. Let's have a look for the indefinite article. Ein and eine. Ein has indefinite article when it shares the der and das. So der turns as an indefinite article to ein, and the same goes for das. Das turns as an indefinite article also to ein. That is the reason why you have here on this overview ein written in two different colors. The color for der and the color for das. Die has his very own indefinite article. Whatever comes in your mind, how you can figure it out, that it stuck in your mind, which rule you use or whatever, eine is the indefinite article for all the singular female nouns in the nominative. And for plural, again, there is no indefinite article for plural nouns. You will not find an indefinite article plural nouns in the German language. nothing to learn. Also good news, or? Okay, I promised you from the beginning, after we talked about the German grammar, definite and indefinite article, I will give you a learn technique which will help you to figure out this topic. And here it comes. Learn techniques will really help you to give this aha moment. It is important to learn in a proper way, that all your hard work was not for nothing. Yeah, so learn techniques really help you to stuck the information in your brain that you won't forget it. And the learn technique I would like to show you is the mind map. Pretty sure some of you already have heard about it, but it's just about, yeah, I know what it is, let's talk about it. No, let's have a closer look to it, because with mind map you can learn such fantastic things in such a fantastic way. It is actually how the brain is working. Let's have a look to it. In the mind map you have always a center which gives you the topic about what you are learning, and then you have the little lines with other words in another section, and another line for another section, and here is a line with words, and here and here. Yeah, so literally you have one center, and then other part categories of the center. They are part of it, but a little bit not so accurate, again, you can say. Yeah, a mind map then can show like that, for example. Very creative. It doesn't have to be this strict. Yeah, it's a personal thing. If you like to have it more strict or very creative, also fine. This is another idea how a mind map could have a look at. As more it is your personal thing behind, better it is. So whenever you are in the daily life more the strict person, then use a strict mind map. And when you are a crazy and creative bird like I am, I prefer these kind of mind maps, because it is more my type of learning, very creative, with colors, with symbols, with yeah, just this creative way. And the mind map can also be used perfectly for our topic we have talked about in this webinar. In the center you can write Tiere, animals, and around we have der, die and das, already given with our three colors we use. So you have an eye catcher, yeah? You know that Tiere, animals, in the center have three subcategories. And the colors are also given, because we talked about blue for the boys, red for the lipstick, female, and das, like the grass, green. So here are the three colors. And then you can add the animals who belongs to the definite articles. Der Hase, der Löwe, der Hund. And here you can already see in one look that Löwe, who ends with an E, is not part of die, it is part of the der. So another link in your brain, not only the E rule, who is not followed here, yeah, because we said Löwe is the male, Löwin would be the female part. You have also a picture now for it. Löwe is part of der. For die goes Schlange, Maus and Katze, and for das, Pferd. And here you can also see, think about our fun fact, that das is the less common definite article in the German language. So look at this, you have one picture and you have so many different information. You see that we talk about Tiere, animals, that we have three definite articles with the colors, that Löwe, even if it ends with an E, is not part of the rule with die. Yeah? That das as the definite article is used as less. Yeah, and der and die is quite the same, often used. Yeah, so one picture, so many informations, and the best what you can do now is create pictures for each new vocabulary what you have. Maybe Hase was already in your brain, but Löwe is a new one because you thought Löwe ends with an E and it is the feminine noun for D. Unfortunately not. We have talked about it, why it is so. So please create a nice picture for our Löwe, lion here, because you have learned something new. And the dog maybe is also a new vocabulary for you. Die Schlange, you can paint something nice. Die Maus und die Katze, of course, auch. Also, please use the correct colors, that it's not mixed up in your brain. And of course the same goes for the horse. Yeah, as more personal you create this mind map, as more time you take. Yeah, it's not a 2-minute work, it really takes time. But while you are creating this mind map, here the work starts already, and it's just such a good link in your brain. Already given information and new information added to this system which you have already in your mind. Yeah, here the overview of it. New information came along and you have already a system in your mind, and now we have to add this new information. Yeah, in this system which you have already. This is how the brain is actually working. So whenever you work with a mind map, you can say that you have a great overview. One look when your mind map is done and you can see so many different informations. This gives you a perfect orientation about the topic. It is also good for your creativity, and if more creative you are working with the mind map, as it better it goes into your brain. You have a focus on the project because it takes some time. It's not only done in 2 minutes. So no mobile phone, no computer, only you, your information you would like to add, and the piece of paper where you do the things. That is the reason why I asked you from the beginning that you need these 3 colors and the piece of paper, because now it is time for you to create your very own mind map about animals with the definite articles der, die, das. Maybe you already know some of them. I hope you learn some new of them so you can add it in your system. And with the mind map, as I told you, you learn like your brain is working. This is one of the best ways how you can work during learning the German language. Of course, there are more techniques, but this is one of them. This is one of my favorite ones, and I hope it really will help you for the future when you learn my mother tongue. In this webinar, we have talked about 2 different things. The German language, but furthermore, we talked about the question how to learn in a very efficient way. And this combination is what it is about when it comes to learning. This is what you will get when you start learning with Panorama Learning. 1 lesson, but 2 different services. Of course, we will talk about the content, about the topic, German language, with the vocabulary, with the grammar, with cultural events. Because, in my opinion, each language has its own soul. And to understand the language, you need to understand the soul. And the soul is, for example, the different events you can find in each culture, in each language. So therefore, we will talk about Christmas in Germany, we will talk about Fasching, Karneval, Oktoberfest, of course, Easter egg hunting. All these special events you can find in Germany helps you to understand the soul and therefore to understand the language. I have a bachelor degree of education. That means 3.5 years in university. I learn to transfer this content to my students, to build a perfect lesson for my students. And at the top, I am a native German, so therefore I know the language. These are the 50% of your learned success, but the other 50% comes when it is about the psychology of learning. How to learn that you will be successful. And herefore I will show you more of the learn techniques. There are so many different learn techniques outside. And you will see some of them will help you a lot, and other ones you say this is not your style. And this is great because it is about to create your own learn strategy. And with this learn strategy you will be 100% successful because you have the 50% about how to learn and 50% about the content. And then you have the 100% success. If you like this style of learning, if you are looking forward to continue learning with me, then you can go to my homepage right now and book your free introduction lesson with me together. Of course, it is not recorded. None of my lessons are recorded, only the webinar, but all the other lessons you will have are in real. It's just you and me. You will tell me where you are here, where you have problems in the German language. Or maybe you are a very beginner. Perfect, then I know where we can start. But also we will talk about how to learn. I will give you more techniques, or maybe you already know what kind of problems you have when it comes to learning, and I can give you some help here. This combination you will get in each lesson, and I'm looking forward to see you soon in real.